Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever.
And welcome to the Solder on Sports Podcast Network, the football show, National Football League show. We're back. It is Monday. Today we are talking about the most exciting divisions. I want people to watch the show and listen to the show on Spotify and on YouTube, and I want to encourage excitement, entertainment. I can't help but disparage the NFC and the AFC South. This just seems like a tire fire from all angles, but we'll dive into it. Joe and I haven't talked about this, so maybe he has a completely different, narrative that he's looking at. But welcome to the National Football League show on the Solder on Sports Podcast Network, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off tons and tons of cards, and with our promo code SPORTS10, get an additional 10% off all sales and non-sales items. 20 becomes 30, 30, 40, 50, 40, 50, 50, 60. You can do the math. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off, and TotalApexSports.com. As always, thank you for having us on board. Total Apex Sports, baseball playoffs right around the corner, pennant races heating up, to say the least. Again, haven't talked to Joe. Worried about our Yankees, and by our Yankees, I mean your Yankees. I have nothing to do with it. Maybe we'll touch on that on another time. Basketball season right around the corner. Hockey season right around the corner as well. Go to TotalApexSports.com to get all your sports needs. Speaking of hockey, the National Hockey League show, part of the Solder on Sports Podcast Network, kicked off on Friday. Me and my buddy Jim talked about a lot of things, some of which being, can the Buffalo Sabres finally make it to the playoffs? The Detroit Red Wings, can they finally get over the hump and make it to the playoffs? Talked about some restricted free agents still yet to sign, and lots of other good stuff. So go to Spotify and the Solder on Sports Podcast Network on YouTube to check that out. All right, all that talking out of the way. I am Mark Solder. This is Joe. Joe, how are we feeling on a Monday, bro? We're almost there, man. We have 9 days, 10 days, 10. We're right there, man. We're close. How you feeling?
Yeah, really close. This will be our second to last Monday without football. We got one more coming up, and then we're gonna start the new season. So I'm really excited about that. Really excited about the latest developments. Just side note on my team, I'm just so glad, so grateful that the Commanders figured it out with Terry just in time for them to play my team opening weekend. So love that for us. Just absolutely love it for us. Anyway. We got some divisions to cover today. I'm looking forward to it, and let's rock and roll.
Absolutely. So let's just dive right into it, man. Let's get it started. The AFC South storylines. What are you looking at here, man? Because I'm just feeling like, I don't know, like this is just top of memory. I could be way off on this. I just feel like these two divisions, and we're talking about the AFC right now, seem to have the most discourse as far as what people think these teams are going to be. You have teams that are incredibly high on the Houston Texans. Not the greatest sophomore season for CJ Stroud. Really good defense over there. Yes, some departures and people hurt on the offense, but high hopes for them. And then other people who are completely out on CJ Stroud, not high hopes for them whatsoever. Jacksonville, I feel like a lot of people, right? Trevor Lawrence obviously is the hot topic. Lots of talent on the offense, starting with Brian Thomas Jr., at least for me, starting with. And then you have Tennessee, you have the Colts. There's just seems to be a lot of conflicting. Some people, spoiler alert, like myself, don't think much of Tennessee or the Colts. I think both of them are not going to be great. We'll talk about that later. But other people, the Colts are loaded with offensive talent. Like, there just seems to be a lot of conflicting opinions when it comes to this division. So what storylines are you looking at heading into the 2025 season?
Honestly, for me, I like to see what happens with CJ Stroud and the Texans. I think they struggled a lot last season, and a lot of that could be the weapons coming in and out of the lineup. You can call it a sophomore slump, as far as CJ is concerned. They just weren't. If put it this way, if this was the season they had the first season, and then the second season we saw what happened like last season, we wouldn't be tripping out about it, right? Um, his rookie season, they were way ahead of schedule. His second season looked more like what his rookie season should have been if we thought about it. So now what happens year 3 with them? I mean, they're gonna go into the season as the clear favorite in a division that lacks depth. So I'm gonna be very interested to see how he goes into this season. Given what happened last season, a little less than stellar, up and down, for that team.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I don't know. I'm captivated as much as these divisions bore me in the sense of like when I'm like flipping channels on a Sunday, like what team do I want to watch? I'm fascinated by the quarterback conversation for all 4 teams. Like I don't think there's any team in this division that doesn't have a compelling quarterback conversation, right? We just touched on it with like CJ Stroud. Really good rookie campaign. Last year, not so much. What are we going to get this year? Trevor Lawrence. I mean, we're going to talk about Jacksonville shortly, so I won't get into like all of that. It does feel like put up or shut up. I think with the whole like Myers situation, we can give him a pass, but this is his like 3rd head coach, I believe, 3rd or 4th, 3rd. And then you have Tennessee with Cam Ward. That's a really fascinating conversation. And then you have the Colts, where your guy, Daniel Jones, is lining up behind center to start. Of course, you have Richardson behind him. So there's lots of kind of fascinating conversations going around with the quarterback room. So I'm really curious to see how all of that plays out. All right, let's dive in. The Houston Texans. Last year, 10-7, 9.5 wins is their over this year, right around that number from last season. Super Bowl 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. Let's get to it, Joe. Your thoughts on the Houston Texans heading into September?
Yeah, I think we could look forward to another division championship for them. I don't think any of the other 3 teams are going to be competitive enough top to bottom as far as the roster is concerned, to beat them. I think what's going to be the key here for them this season is going to be their offensive line. They obviously felt good enough about their plan, whatever it is, that they were willing to go ahead and trade Laramie Tunsil away, which to my recollection, I thought he was the best lineman they had. They decided to go ahead and move him. So their O-line is really going to dictate how I think this team is going to move. I think the defense is going to be pretty top notch. D'Amico's going to get those guys going. Derek Sinley just got paid. He's going to be feeling good. I think the combination of Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, if they're healthy for a whole season, I think is going to be a dynamite pass rush. You got your lockdown corner. You got your banger and Al Shahir. Hopefully he hits more legal hits than not this season. And then you got CJ GJ, who's going to give you a lot of this and maybe back up his play. We'll see. You know better than I do. He'd spent some time in Philly. If the defense can carry, they should easily, comfortably win the division. My one super concern offensively right now, outside the offensive line, is the fact that they don't have Joe Mixon for at least 4 weeks and potentially more.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to be depending on Nick Chubb a lot, and Nick Chubb's coming off of his own injury history, albeit also the most recent history and him getting hurt again last year for Cleveland. So that's going to be interesting. But if you're going to have a guy that's going to, be the guy, I think a combination of Nick Chubb and Dameon Pierce should buy you some time. And if they had been in any other division, I'd be concerned about it. But being that they play in the South, they should get by.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Nick Chubb to me is the ultimate, like, high ceiling, low floor, like, conversation, where if Nick Chubb is any resemblance of the Nick Chubb that we know, then this could work out really, really well. And Joe Mixon comes back. He's great. He's healthy. That could be a really dynamic duo, right? But also the floor is just as remarkable. Like it could also be like very bad, right? I'm curious, like, we'll go through the schedule shortly. The one thing that automatically makes me lean over, because 9.5, you're looking at like 10 wins, right? Same as last year, is I think without question, this is the best defense in this division. This is a very good defense. And so to me, can they get by on if CJ Stroud can just do his thing and not get too crazy with it, keep the turnovers to a minimum, this team could win just like on the defense. Now, that doesn't talk to playoff success. I'm not saying anything like that, but as far as winning the division and, clearing 9.5 wins, that to me could be it. Because if this division does play out the way that I think it will, then their defense might be all that they really need to get over that number. What you said with the running back room is 100% justified. I think also with the pass catchers too, like losing Tank Dell, he is huge. Like that can't be talked about enough. I love Nico Collins. I think Christian Kirk was a very underrated signing. Dalton Schultz, he's good, but I don't know. That concerns me. Is that I don't know, like besides Nico Collins, I mean, like I said, Christian Kirk is a good player. But with the state of that running back room, it feels like you're relying on the passing game a little more than you would like to, especially coming off the year that CJ Stroud had last year. So to me, I still think this team probably wins the division. I still really like the defense, but the offense, you can't ignore that there are concerns here when it comes to the defense. All right, let's quickly look at the schedule. And to me, the front half of this schedule is what the Texans have to survive. And I think we're going to know who this team is super early. You have the Rams week 1, you have the Bucks week 2, you have the Jags week 3. There's a world where they go 0-3 or 3-0. Right? I think that can be both ends of the spectrum there. You have the Titans week 4. Then you're traveling to Baltimore week 5. Bye week 6. In Seattle week 7. Week 8, the 49ers. Week 9, the Broncos. And then wrapping up the first 10 weeks with the Jags. Like, to me, there's a world where if this falls off a cliff, they could win 2 games in that stretch. Like that, like those are some tough games to begin the season. I like the Broncos are that game is at home. So is the 49ers game, but the Seahawks on the road, Ravens on the road, Jags on the road, Rams on the road, although the Rams on the road isn't quite the same as another team. But I don't know, man. That first stretch looks pretty difficult to me.
I assume the world that you're talking about, that you're living in, that they have the 2 wins is against the Jaguars. But like you always say, they have to win eventually, right? So I think for me, the divisional matchups are going to be really, really important on whether they hit this number or not. Because I don't think that there are games that they can give away there if they're going to hit the 10. I'll say this, though. The 49ers defense going to look a little different. It's going to look familiar because of who's running it, but as far as personnel, they're going to be a little bit different. However, they're catching them in the mid-season, so maybe they're hitting some sort of stride by then, but I don't think that's a gimme game for the Niners. And I think the Bucks early can get got, especially when they have pass catchers who are hurt right now. We got McMillan who's down. Godwin's going to be down for a period of time. So now you're depending on Emeka, who's a rookie, as a premier target grabber, along with Kate Otten and Mike Evans. So I don't think that's a gimme game either. I can see a world where they can maybe get 500 there and then try to cook the last 7 games.
Yeah, and then the back half of the schedule isn't a walk in the park either. Like we said, week 10, they have the Jags. Titans week 11 in Tennessee. Then you have Buffalo, and then you travel to play the Colts. Chiefs, Cardinals, Raiders, Chargers, Colts to finish off the season. Looking at that schedule, this does feel more and more like an under to me. I feel like I'm going to maybe slightly take the over, but the more that I look at this schedule, but there are also teams that I just don't know. Like the Raiders, I'm weirdly high on. The Cardinals, like we talked about last week, their defense is terrific. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. The Bills, obviously. I don't know, man. The more that I look at it, I think the under 9.5 is looking more and more likely. I just think based on the strength of this division, I have to go with the over here.
Yeah, for me, looking at this half, if I think the Titans are gettable games, to be honest.
Yeah.
I love their weaponry, but you also got a rookie quarterback. So I think when you have an experienced like DC defensive minded coach, you're going to take advantage of that particular opportunity of being up against a rookie coach. So I think that game is gettable. The Bills game, they're going to be behind the 8 ball because not only are you on short rest, but you're also playing Buffalo. So it being at home helps a little bit, but you're also traveling from Tennessee to back to Houston on short rest to play the Bills in a high profile game, in a televised game. That's travel time, the hype behind the game. We don't know what your record is going to be by then. They could be really, that's going to be a tough game for them. But you got 2 games against the Colts. Raiders, we don't know what they're going to be. Cardinals, I think you can get 5 out of those, to be honest. I think the very losable games that I can just pinpoint and be like, yeah, that's probably an L. The Bills, the Chiefs, and the Chargers for me, depending on where they are in their own division, and playoff seeding.
100%. 100%. All right, let's move on. And I'm captivated by this conversation, and I'm so curious to what you think about this. Again, I have not talked to Joe about this. I have no idea what this man is thinking about this team, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Before we move on to them, shout out to our guy Jordan in the chat. Good to see you, man. Brady as well, my Canadian buddy. Good to see you and hear from you, Brady. Have you talked about Shadur Sanders yet? I would like to see him and Shiloh on the Argos. I want to talk about this very, very quickly, and not Sanders. We're going to talk about the Browns next week in our final division previews before the season kicks off. We'll talk about that. I want to talk about this thing with Brady and the Argos. And this really, nobody watching is going to care about this whatsoever. Joe is not going to care about this, but I got to get this off my chest. This is classic Vancouver right here, okay? This guy is a BC Lions fan in the Canadian Football League. The Toronto Argonauts are not having a very good season right now, all right? And people like to dump on Toronto, especially Canadians. We think we're the center of the world because we are. That's just the truth. Sorry, man. We just are. It just is what it is. The Toronto Argonauts are back-to-back Grey Cup champions. I don't understand the BC Lions. You guys crap on yourselves every year. And you're dumping on me because we're having a bad season. Back to back. Grey Cup. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, my guy, we won the Grey Cup in your building last year. Your building. We won. So I just had to get that off my chest, Joe. I don't understand this just back to back. Yes, the Maple Leafs, you can laugh all you want. I understand. But we're talking about the Toronto Argonauts. Canada's pride, the least cared about football team in the country, unfortunately. But hey, they're back-to-back Grey Cup champions, and it's a tough year. So, all right, got that off my chest. Brady, keep watching, little brother. I love you. All right. Jacksonville Jaguars, let's get going. 4-13 last season. 6.5 wins is the total. 152-1. New coach. Everyone's loving on this new coach. Talk to me, Joe. We can talk about the roster, and we will. We can talk about the schedule, and we will. We had this conversation last week about Justin Herbert, all right? Justin Herbert, I don't understand the love affair with. I like Justin Herbert. He's a good player, but I just feel like people are just crowning this guy as a top 5 quarterback, no questions asked. And that I disagree with. However, as you pointed out to me last year, Justin Herbert, at least we've seen it for year after year after year. We've seen enough to make us believe that this guy is the real deal. What am I missing here with Trevor Lawrence, man? I don't understand. I get it. College. I will be the first to tell you I do not follow college football as closely as you guys do down there. I'll be the first to admit it. But year after, and I know health issues and all this stuff. I don't get it, man. understand that they're bringing in Cohen as this like, quarterback whisperer and bring him in, last ditch effort. And like we said, he had Myers who that's a tough go your rookie year to have that guy. WP comes in, you go to the playoffs. I thought they were actually pretty frisky against the Chiefs in that divisional round, I believe, and the Mahomes just ended up being Mahomes, and like they couldn't pull it out. I am out on Trevor Lawrence, and I don't quite understand, but at the same time, sorry, I didn't realize that this would drive me into like a rant, but at the same time, what I appreciate about the Trevor Lawrence story, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit with Bryce Young, is I think that the National Football League throws their quarterbacks out way too early, way too quickly. There's no time to develop. There's no time to grow. We'll see what happens with Jordan Love, but what I love about that is he marinated behind one of the best quarterbacks of the last decade for like 4 years. And now he's been given the reins, where I feel like way too often a guy goes, he's given the reins, and boom, he's out. So I do like that they're giving Trevor Lawrence this opportunity. I just think that I also feel like this is like a Ben Simmons kind of thing. And I'm not saying that with regards to how they play. I'm not comparing him to Ben Simmons as far as their play goes. But this guy got paid so much money for doing nothing. And I think that amplifies it in my brain. Like, how are we doing this? Like, Jalen Hurts took his team to the Super Bowl. Yes, they didn't win, but he took them there and he got the bag. Justin Herbert is putting together productive years, year after year after year. I don't know, man. I just, Ben Simmons, everyone was like, once this guy develops a shot, he'll be unstoppable. He's in the NBA. What are we talking about? Develop a shot. Shouldn't he have that already? And they gave him one of the highest contracts in the league at that time. And I just worry that's what we're doing to Trevor Lawrence. All right, rant over. Your thoughts.
Well, here's the thing. He plays a marquee position. He plays the marquee position in football.
Yep.
So because of that, the market, as well as who can you get that's better, dictates whether you pay a guy or not. So
I get it.
At the time that his contract was up and that they needed to make the decision, the market dictated how much they paid him, and they were paying him with the hope that improvement would be seen going forward. Now, that being said, the guy's had 3 head coaches in 5 years. He's entering his 5th season. He's entering with his 3rd coach. The last 2 would be, you would say, are more offensive-minded coaches. Cohen, offensive-minded coach. DP played the quarterback position, offensive-minded coach. So with that being said, obviously now he's going to be entering another different system. The problem that people look at with Trevor Lawrence is they see, the season that, the big fallout, the comeback in the playoff game, and he's largely descended from 2022. From 2022, his touchdowns have gone down, his interceptions have gone up. He was on track to beat the interceptions in the last season if he didn't get hurt. So they're seeing that and they're like, oh, he's getting paid X amount and this is where we are. How did we pay him? Well, they get paid the same way they've always gotten paid. The market dictates what you pay, and if you give it, like is also determined by if you can get better than what he is. And at the time, that wasn't a clear-cut yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they went and paid him what the market value was, and they moved from there. So obviously their season is going to be determined by how well Liam Cohen gets him back on track, how well this team can coexist moving forward in this new regime. Am I expecting a 1-year wonder like Dave Canellis did with Baker Mayfield? No, I don't expect that. Do I expect to see better than 11-7 as a touchdown interception ratio? I think so. I think so. If by any means, like him just being comfortable in the system as the system grows, I think that defense has enough pieces to keep them in games. I think the combination of Walker and Hines Allen will be enough to keep them in games if the offense can produce points. And
Yeah.
listen, the history suggests that TB coordinators make things happen. I mean, we thought for sure Bryce Young was going to be out of the league. For sure. The trajectory said he was not going to be a competent quarterback. And you know what? Guess what happened the second half of the season? He got to sit down, watch Dalton get hit about a million times, saw the field from a different perspective, came back in, and they were a sneaky pick to cover most games at the second half of the year. So maybe there's something to these TB coordinators knowing what they're doing, and I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he can turn Trevor Lawrence around.
Yeah, man. I mean, I get it with the market and all of that. I guess for me, and maybe this is like my hockey brain that just has a hard time dealing with this, but like just seeing so many people in sports getting paid so much money based on their potential and not based on what they've actually accomplished. And I get it, man. 4,000 yards a couple of years ago, 36,000 plus, a couple of years before that, or like the year before that. I get it, man. I just too much inconsistency. It just trips me out. But like on the other side, I get what you're saying, because it's either you sign him or you commit to being awful for the next few years. But maybe that's what you need again to go through the whole draft cycle again. I don't know. But we'll see what happens. On the offense, I love Brian Thomas. I loved him as a guy who literally just said, I don't know much about college sports. I actually knew about Brian Thomas, and I was really looking forward to watching him play. Did not disappoint. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about Tank Bigsby. I know he's been around for a little bit, but the reason why I bring him up, and I'm curious how this unfolds, the ETN rumors are kind of swirling that he might get traded. I don't know how likely that is, but that's kind of swirling around. So that would put Tank on the big stage. I like it when guys named Tank succeed. It's just a baller name, and I just feel like that's important. Travis Hunter, we haven't even talked about him yet. That's the whole kind of, that's all anyone's talking about when it comes to this team, really. And I think it's overshadowing. I feel like a lot of this conversation when it comes to the Jags is, what are we going to see from Shohei Ohtani, the football version, right? Is like, how much on defense, how much on offense? And I think it's like overshadowing the bigger picture. What are your takes or whatever on Travis Hunter? Because you know the college game better than I do. As a football fan, Deion Sanders, although he played for the Devil, he is one of my favorite football players of all time. And so I was captivated by that whole program and whatever. What is your take on the Travis Hunter story? As much as we like to talk about whatever we want to talk about, we also got to play to the clicks, right? So what are you looking at as far as the Travis Hunter experience heading into September.
Well, in my brain, how I think this is going to operate is that with Liam Cohen being an offensive coach, I think he's going to want to use him, like if ratio wise, he's going to want to use him more on offense than on defense. How are you going to get your highest paid player to play more consistently, make sure his weapons are on the field? And right now he's currently questionable, right? So right now he's not on the field. But I think you want to give your quarterback the best chance to succeed. And if you're going to do that, I think you play him more at the wide receiver position than you do at corner. I think a smart thing for them to do would be, if you're gonna play him on defense, maybe play him in the red area. Have him in like the red zone packages on defense when he is on defense. Like when he's in the meetings, if you're gonna allocate time to him on defense, I think he's a savvy enough player. He's played both ways long enough in college to be able to sit in a meeting and be like, okay, this is what we're running. Okay, bet. All right, what's my role in this red zone package? Okay, cool. I'm on the okay, got it. I think you give him enough concepts in the red area to kind of keep him in the mix on defense, keep his skill set out on the field on defense, because his skill set is really good on defense and on offense. So might as well utilize all of them. But I think for this team to be successful, and for Trevor Lawrence specifically to be successful, I think the ratio should be more towards on the offensive end than on the defensive end, if it's gonna play out the way they want it to play out.
Yeah, and I think there's a world where, like, by all like accounts, I'm hearing this, and again, this is not my opinion. This is what I've just heard other people say. This guy like doesn't get tired. Like, he just never gets tired. He just has this like motor that's just uncomparable to anything else we've ever seen. I don't know how accurate that is. We'll see what happens. The NFL is just a whole different ball game, right? Quite literally. I am curious to see how, and I don't know, like, how other coaches in the league, if they'll think about this a little too hard and target him a lot on defense to like tire him out for the offensive side of his game. I don't know. Like, maybe we'll see coaches kind of like target him in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah, the thing with him, I'm not worried about stamina more than I'm worried about health. I
Right.
think he can go. I think he can go because he's proven he can go both ways. I'm worried about health, and his health is going to be scrutinized just as much as, say, like the quarterbacks are, just because he's one of one, just because he's one of these few people that really have a legit ability to be a focal point on both sides of the ball. We haven't seen something like this since like Dion, and even then he was part-time on the receiver end and on special teams. So for me, that's really what it comes down to. And the fact that he's already questionable and the season hasn't even started yet speaks to that.
Yeah. 100%. Quickly, Joe, touch on this before we get to the schedule. My guy Brady, wasn't Travis Hunter better on defense though, Joe? I heard he would be better used there instead of being a wide receiver. Quickly touch on that.
I think ultimately he's just really good at both. I lean towards the defense end as far as what his top skills are right now. But the problem that would present is that you're then taking another weapon that Lawrence could have on the field. And ultimately, if your quarterback is not successful, it doesn't matter how good your defense is, because they're going to be on the field 40 minutes a game. And at some point you're going to break as far as just letting points scored. So I think the best way for this team as presently constructed is going to be successful is to keep them on offense, because you got bookend ends in Travion Walker and Hines Allen, who have both hit double-digit sacks. I think if you continue to have a pass rush with four people, I think you should be able to on the back ends, like the back seven, you should be able to be successful defensively when you have a pass rusher like that. So I think that's why you keep him on offense more, even if his skills slightly, I'd rate it slightly better at corner than wide out.
Absolutely love it. All right, to the schedule really quickly here. The Carolina Panthers at home week 1, then traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Texans in week 3, 49ers in San Fran week 4, home to the Chiefs week 5, Seahawks week 6, 7, home to the Rams, bye in week 8, and then they're in Las Vegas and in Houston to wrap up the first 10 games of the season. Just because of the hype that this team has had year over year. Last year, the over-under was 8.5, and they missed that number by a large margin. To me, again, it just feels like, and we'll look at the back half of the schedule in a minute, it's no walk in the park, but they do have both games against the Colts and the Titans. All 4 games against those 2 teams are in the back half of this season. So that is something that, if the script goes the way that I think it will with Tennessee and the Colts, that is kind of like there for them, right? But the front half of the schedule's not loaded, but like I said, Panthers, Bengals, Texans, Niners. That could be 1-3. It could be 3-1, 2-2. Could be 0-4, right? Like, to me, that could kind of go either way. Week 5, you have the Chiefs. Week 6, the Seahawks. The Seahawks, we talked about last week, they're that team that I don't really love what I'm seeing. However, they could be frisky, like, whatever week, right? Like, it just kind of feels that way. You have the Rams week 7, Raiders and Texans week 9 and 10. Like, to me, if you're getting out of that front half 500, that feels like a win to me.
Here's the thing with the Jags, and it's just unfortunate how it just worked out for them. So they drew the NFC West and the AFC West in the scheduling, right? So the problem with that is the AFC West put 3 teams in the playoffs last year, right?
Yeah.
And you figure the Seahawks are going to be at least somewhat improved because they have an actual competent coach there and a competent signal caller in Geno Smith, right? So you figure they're going to be at least marginally better on offense, at the least. So with that being said, those games are going to be really hard for them. And then the NFC West side of things, a lot of that's going to determine, it's going to be determined by health of Stafford, first and foremost, because, you know, he's got that back issue. Never know what's going to happen there. Arizona's defense, pretty solid. Consistency, a question mark on at the quarterback position. Well known, but that division itself, highly competitive. It wasn't until the late season run, the back half of the season by the Rams, where they separated themselves from the rest of the division. So those games, not going to be easy either.
No.
So that's where I come in as far as Jacksonville is concerned on the number. I think the number, I've got a trend below just because of what I feel the AFC South is going to be. And because of that, I don't think they win enough games in the division, as well as enough games of their out of conference schedule or the out of division schedule to hit the over number. It's just going to be too hard for me to say that.
Yeah. Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying, right? Is like, if they can get out of the first 10 weeks, right? They have the bye in there, so the first 9 games. If they can get out of there 4-5, then I like them hitting the over, simply because they have to play the Titans and
That's fair.
and 4 times, right?
That's fair.
But that also leaves very little margin for error. Like that's like very little, right? So I like personally in my like betting life, I will not be touching this team at all. And I am going to make the declaration now that we all know is going to be thrown out the window by the end of week 1 that I won't bet on this team at all for or against them. I want nothing to do with them. But we all know that I'm, going to lose money halfway through Sunday and I'm going to need to try to make it up, and it's that vicious cycle. But but yeah, so to wrap up the schedule, week 11, home to the Chargers, in Arizona, Titans, Colts, on the road against the Titans, and then home to the Colts. Jets, Broncos, Colts, Titans. So if you can win 3 of those Titans, Colts games, and you can get 4 wins somehow in the first half of the season, then you clear the number. Or if you split the Titans and the Colts 50-50, you beat the Jets, you get that win there. I don't know. I have a hard time. Like, I'm hearing some people talking about this team competing for the conference. I'm hearing about this team. Now they could be competing for the division if the floor case of the Houston Texans is how their season goes, right? Because I'm higher on the Texans than I am Jacksonville. However, if Houston doesn't have their crap together either, then maybe there is some divisional play here. I don't know. But to me, man, it's just too many things have to go right for them to clear this number, even though 6.5 is a pretty short number.
I just don't see it. I don't see the world that exists where they get more than that.
All right. On the same page. All right. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans. Give me 2 seconds here. The Tennessee Titans. I had it here. My apologies. All right. 3-14 last season. 5.5 wins is their over this year. So pretty high compared to what they finished with last year. 200-1 to win the Super Bowl. I don't have much here. I don't have much here, man. I think Cam Ward, I think it seems to be his team to run with. Will Levis is out for the year. Seems like he more than likely lost any opportunity that he had with the Titans. By all accounts, Cam Ward is just one of those guys with a really high ceiling long term. That's going to come with some risks. A lot of people comparing him to Josh Allen in the sense that he's going to make some crazy plays, but he's also always going to go for those crazy plays, which is going to create some negative situations. So I'm just going to give this 4 to you, man. I don't have too much here for this team. I think the running back room is actually like kind of pretty good, like pretty sneaky good. It's not phenomenal, but like there's worse running back rooms out there for sure. But what do you got on this Titan teams, man? The Titans, I don't know why. Maybe it's because like I love country music. I don't know what it is. I try to find the upside for the Titans every season, and I'm having a hard time getting there this year. What do you got?
Listen, they do have low key. They have some weapons. Love Calvin Ridley. Okay. I didn't know what we were gonna see of him after the year off for the gambling thing. But that year he came back with the Jags pretty solid. So I think he can be a guy. I think he could be our wide receiver 1. Tyler Lockett, low key, very underrated pickup, I think.
That's true.
If he
Yep.
still retains um uh, even even 4.445 speed, if he still has a measure of his speed left, I think he can stretch the field. Van Jefferson is in a position where he's been a 3 before with the Rams offense. I think he could find a nice little cushy spot right here, where he can, be important on third downs, and him and Okonkwo at tight end, I think could be really key in third down situations. They spent a lot of money on Dan Moore at left tackle, to move JC Latham here on the right side. I think the bookend tackles could be solid. Um, Offensively speaking, not terrible. Not terrible. And if Pollard and Spears if they can control the ball with Pollard and Spears, and on occasion Ward, if you want to use some athleticism, I think I think they can keep the defense from getting exposed. I think L'Jarius was not great last season. He was also hurt. So I think that was kind of a step back there, given what they traded for him, as far as trading with the Chiefs. So I think if you can keep that defense from being exposed and just keep the ball in your hands, I think low key they can come close to their number. Do I think they hit it? No. It's a rookie quarterback, and again, they have the AFC East, the AFC West, and the NFC West, and some of those have guys like Jared Verse there. You got Khalil Mack in that division. You got Chris Jones in those divisions. Like, you've got defenses that are stout who will take advantage of a rookie quarterback. So I don't see, if in comparison, comparatively speaking, I don't see what we saw from Jaden Daniels last year happening here, is what I'm saying. But I think low key the offense could be better than what we think. Just because I think there's enough there for them to score some points. I just don't trust their defense to be able to stop the other team.
Yeah, and I mean they have a little bit of an easier schedule than the Jags, just off the surface. To where maybe Cam Ward has some of those, eye-popping games, eye-popping moments. They start off. Yeah, like they start off, like the first few weeks are going to be tricky. They have the Broncos in Denver, and then they have the Rams, the Colts week 3, Texans in Houston week 4, in Arizona. So that stretch, week 4, 5, and 6, your Texans, Cardinals, Raiders, all on the road, and then week 7, you're home against the Patriots, in Indianapolis against the Colts, Chargers week 9, and then your week 10 bye. So right off the bat, I can see a couple wins kind of sneaking it out. You play the Colts twice. That feels like a split. And then you got the Patriots. But the Patriots, like, they're not going to be walkovers, but we're probably looking at 1 or 2 wins in that first half of the season. Then after the week 10 bye, you have Houston again, Seahawks, Jags, Browns, Niners, Chiefs, Saints, Jags. So I can see a couple more wins there, but 5.5 does feel like a reach. I do feel like, however the season ends, this could be just under or just over. Like, we could see 4 and maybe a couple miraculous performances, and we see 6 wins. But besides that, I don't really know what else we'll be getting from this Tennessee team. I don't see any sleeper scenario. I just feel like they could get to 4 wins, or they could get to 6, and that kind of feels like their ceiling.
I could see that. I saw that back end is like you were talking about. I saw the Saints down there, and then I saw the Jags twice. And I was like, yeah. I mean, the season could be over for the Jags by then. Like, I started thinking about it. I was like, all right, possibly. Colts season could be done by then too. So Possibly.
Well, and I mean something that we didn't talk about with the Jags is no disrespect to Nick Mullins, but if Trevor Lawrence gets hurt again, which why wouldn't he? Not wishing that on anybody. This is just like what history has been showing us with Trevor Lawrence. That quarterback room is thin. So to me, yeah. I mean, so yeah, your point is well taken. All right. Let's move on. The Indianapolis Colts. We will wrap up the AFC South with this. Give me a minute here to get my bearings. All right. 8-9 last year. 6.5 is their total this year. 100-1 to win the Super Bowl. Now, I feel like every time I talk about this division, I end up being disrespectful. And my next statement, I don't know who I'm being more disrespectful towards. I guess, like, I don't know. The Colts are 100-1, but the Titans are 200-1. Like, is it? I don't really know what I'm missing here. That seems like a massive difference that I don't really understand when it comes to this Colts team, but it is what it is. So yes, 8-9 last year, 6.5 wins is our total for this upcoming season. 100-1 to win the Super Bowl. What do you got, man? Your guy Daniel Jones. I know you're really excited to see what he has. My immediate thought on this, because I've been thinking about this, and I'm curious to know your thought. My thought on why he's the starter is I don't think they've been wowed by either option, and I think it's easier to bench Daniel Jones and bring in AR-15 than it is to bench AR-15, then Daniel Jones sucks, and then to bring back AR-15. Like I feel like it's easier to have Daniel Jones start. AR-15 comes in, he doesn't do well, you pull him off, you put Daniel Jones back on. That just feels like an easier situation to deal with than to have AR-15 start and it just not go well and your whole season kind of gets derailed. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about, and I'm curious again to know your thoughts on this. You still have Jonathan Taylor back there. You have like Pittman Jr., who is a good receiver. There's still talent there. I just still don't see a way that this goes well. I'm curious to know your thoughts.
Well, I gotta say that number is obviously predicated on who's the signal caller, right? So you look at that and you see this is the clearest indication of a team that has like a quarterback that you think you can win with, and a quarterback that you don't think you can win with, right? Like this number, with all the money they spent, on Cam Bynum, on Charvarius Ward, there on the defensive end, like they've got guys on both sides of the ball, so that you would think, oh, okay, they should be neck and neck with Houston again, or competing for the division again, like they did the first year of CJ Stroud's career. But this number shows the lack of faith they have in the quarterback position. And you know what? Valid. Why? Because I got a front row seat to Danny Dimes. I got a front row seat to the Danny Dimes experience, okay? And if that's not every single dangerous roller coaster combined in one of an experience, I don't know what is. I don't know what it is. So they have two quarterbacks who have a history of being untrustworthy when quarterbacking football. Okay. That's the long and the short of it. Okay. Will I say that we had every weapon known to man on those Giants teams? No, but you know what? First year in, we were in the playoffs, and he's been absolute crap ever since. Okay. So, I mean, the stats say what they say. Okay. And I don't think it's going to get any better over here. Okay. That offensive line, highly suspect. And I don't want to hear any whining from Quentin Nelson about, oh, we've had this quarterback, this quarterback, this quarterback. Because listen, at the end of the day, whoever's back there, you got to do your job. All right. And you guys haven't been doing your job. And you know how I know you guys haven't been doing your job? The record says it. The fact that you lost to my team in a game that absolutely shouldn't have mattered to us. You let Drew Lock out there looking like Peyton Manning. He was dropping dimes all over your team. You lost a game that cost us the number one pick in the draft. So do I have faith in this squad? Absolutely not. Now, do I think the vibes might change just a little bit having Cam Bynum on the team? Yes, because that guy can move, he can dance, and I think he's going to want to dance some more. So he's going to want to be a ball hawk back there for your defense. Charvarius Ward, I think low key, really good signing. They also have Xavier Howard, who used to be a Pro Bowler. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but that offers some depth in the quarterback and the cornerback room. I think the defense could be better, knowing that the back ends is okay. They have one of the highest paid nickelbacks in Kenny Moore the second. I think low key the defense can hold. Can your quarterback find a wide receiver to save their life? That is your question. Do I think they can do that to hit whatever their number is? History suggests no. And this symbol on my shirt says that I know because I've seen it from that guy. Okay.
I honestly, man, you're there. You may disagree with me for being on the outside, and I'm an Eagles fan, so I'm not like all the way on the outside when it comes to the Giants, but I'm not a Giants fan. I feel like in the divisional round against the Eagles, the 3 seasons ago, I guess 4 if we're counting this upcoming season. Was it the first quarter or second quarter when you guys went for it in your own side of half?
Oh, I don't
That to
recall.
me,
I just know it was over early. It was
that
over
to me
very
was
early.
like the beginning of the end. Whatever beginning was happening, that like going for it in your own end. I think you were down maybe 14-0. And it was like, or I don't even know what it was. But that to me, instantly in my brain was like, this guy does not trust this guy. And that kind of seemed like where the wheels started to kind of fall off. But that's another conversation. Listen, the only hope, the only thing, and I shouldn't say the only hope, that's a very dramatic thing to say, but that's how I feel about it. Shane Steichen knows how to write up schemes for quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, say what you want. The guy, if used in a proper context, he can run. And Shane Steichen does have a history of working with running quarterbacks, right? So to me,
All the quarterbacks on his roster are running quarterbacks.
right.
Even Riley Leonard is a running quarterback.
Right. And so to me, and then obviously like dating back to Jalen Hurts. So like to me, I if there's going to be any upside that we can look at, that we can glean at anything at all, it's that Shane Steichen, I trust his offensive mind. Right. And so that's the one thing that I can kind of go to. But beyond that, and listen, like with Richardson, I would like to see a world where he develops.
Yeah.
But the guy, he can't stay healthy. And when he is healthy, it just feels like he's trying to ball out. It doesn't feel like he's really playing the game that's in front of him. It just feels like he's just trying to be heroic. So I don't really know what that looks like as far as a longevity. Good thing is he's a rapper, so he can always fall back on hip hop. But we'll see how that goes.
Listen, one of the ball kids re-established his life by becoming a rapper, evidently. So if he can do it, you can too. I think to tie in on that on AR, the reason why Daniel Jones is starting is because Shane trusts him to make the easy ones. and AR hasn't been able to even make the easy ones, and that's the problem. So that's why he's going with Daniel Jones, because within 0 to 10 yards, he can trust him more than he can trust AR.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I can get down on that. All right. Before we get to the schedule, Brady in the chat, random question, but you have a TikTok. The answer to that question is that I do, and it currently has 0 posts. So I will be getting it rolling. Social media is not my forte, and I need to put way more effort into that. But behind the scenes, I am working up. Yes, I have a TikTok and it will be used, but it's not yet. But you can look up Solder on Sports on TikTok, add me, follow me, whatever it's called on TikTok, and eventually you will see clips from these shows and my own takes in the future. So I'll just put that out there. Thank you, Brady, for the question. It is a good question. My wife, whatever, man. Like, we're live. I'll just say it. My wife has been bugging me for like 2 years. Like, get on TikTok, man. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And
it's a fun little place. Honestly, it's a fun little place.
And that's
some people consume things 30 seconds at a time, you know?
And I mean, it's just the nature of sports media now, man. Whether it's sports media, whether it's like music, like there's musicians who you hear all over the radio now who got big because of TikTok. It's just the way of the world now. And I'm just stubborn and lazy, and I need to get my act together. But moving on, speaking of getting your act together, the Indianapolis Colts 2025 schedule. I mean, not the worst. You're starting with the Dolphins at home. I feel like the Dolphins should stomp them, but I don't have a lot of faith in this Dolphins team. The Broncos at home, week 2. Feel like we know how that's going to go, but they're at home, so we'll see. That defense, that Broncos defense, I just don't see the Colts moving the ball. Week 3, in Tennessee against the Titans. Week 4 in Los Angeles to face the Rams. Week 5 home against the Raiders. Week 6 home against the Cardinals. In the first 6 games, 4 of your 6 games are at home. So if there's any upside you can look at, maybe that's it. Maybe that's where they find a way to grind out a couple wins at home and get their season started off on the right foot. Week 7, Chargers in LA. Week 8, Titans. We already talked about this with the Titans, probably splitting those games. Week 9 in Pittsburgh. We don't know what the Pittsburgh's offense is really going to look like, but we know what their defense is going to look like. So we'll see how that goes, especially in Pittsburgh. Week 10 is against the Falcons. And then the bye in week 11. There's a world where they could scrounge 2 or 3 wins out of this. I just don't feel like much more than that. And to me, it's just simple. The opponent's defense against the Colts offense. That's all that my mind really goes to. I don't really think about it any like deeper than that, right? And you're looking at the Broncos. Yeah, man, like the Broncos, one of the best defensive units in the league. The Dolphins, maybe one of the weaker defenses on this list. But the Rams, I'm just having visions of Jared Verse just running wild. The Raiders, Max Crosby. The Cardinals bringing in Josh Sweat. I don't know how that's going to go. Yeah. Then after the week 11 bye, in Kansas City, home to the Texans, in Jacksonville, in Seattle, home to the Niners, home to the Jags, week 18 in Houston. So I don't know, man. To me, I just don't. What was the number again? I said it 6.5. That seems hard to get to, man.
The schedule is not in their favor in the second half of that season. You see all those West Coast to East Coast travels towards the end of the season. That's brutal. Listen, they have 2 weeks to prepare for the Chiefs. They could have 4 and still not win that game. So that's just how I feel about it. I just it really, yeah. There's a lot of travel there at the end of the season that doesn't really put them in a really, really good place. And honestly, we don't even know who the quarterback's going to be at this stage in the season. They like you said, it's a lot easier to go from Daniel Jones to AR than it is to go from AR to Daniel Jones and then back to AR. Like, that it is the whole confidence thing. Um, I see an opportunity there to where maybe he finishes the last 6 games and see what happens.
Yeah, and I also think that, like, and I'm not going to pretend that I have some, like, pulse on what the Colts fan base is feeling like right now, but it feels like they're one more benching away from being out on this guy. Like it doesn't. If you start AR-15 and he gets benched, and then you go to Daniel Jones and then he gets benched, I just feel like the Colts fans are just going to jump off a cliff. And
they were already ready when he tapped out last year. To be honest with you, they were already ready when he tapped out of that one game last year. So they're on the edge.
I know, and I heard a scenario, and I don't know how likely this is. I feel like out of all sports, football might be the least likely for this to happen. But obviously, Jim Irsay passed away. And so I heard a scenario where this is just different podcasts, people talking about a scenario where even though it's his family, like the new ownership wants to put their own kind of stamp on the team. So will we see trades? Will we see the roster change? I don't know how likely that is. That's something that I've heard out there.
They've been training for years, to be honest with you. I consume a lot of Pat McAfee content. Okay. Know that. A lot of my friends know that. They've been training for years. One of them in particular has been on the headset for at least the last couple of years, just listening to the interactions between coaches and coordinators and players. One of them is more into the business aspect of it and has been dealing with that. And then one has been just more into the charitable events, the community ventures, advertise, that sort of thing. So each of the daughters have taken a piece of this puzzle on as their own. So it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't want to, like, hey, okay, this is our show now. We've been training for this. Like, we've been not that they were waiting for it, but they've been taught for the last couple of years, or at least the last 2 or 3 years, about the business to know, hey, you can take it wherever you want to take it when it's yours.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And I'll just say this for those of you who know me. Jim Irsay, there's a lot of really funny, tragic things about his life where you kind of look at it and you can kind of like chuckle or whatever. But we all know that the guy battled a lot of things, and I've had some demons in my own life. So, definitely like thoughts and prayers go out, and a tough story. The whole Jim Irsay kind of story. It can be, as much as we kind of goof on the guy, it is a sad story as well. So not to completely dump on that situation. All right. Leaving the AFC, moving to the NFC South. I'll get to my thoughts in a minute, but as we have been doing at the beginning, Joe, NFC South storylines, man. I feel like this as, like, if I have to choose the AFC or the NFC in the South world, it'll be this division. I feel like there's a more potential for, like, if we're talking about the quarterback situations specifically, it feels like the upward trajectory is more in the in this division than in the one that we just talked about. But
Fair.
I'm curious.
Valid.
I'm curious what your thoughts are. The NFC South storylines heading into 2025.
All right. Well, I'll say from the outset that I think it's the Bucks division to lose. But I think the story for me is, what does Bryce Young do as a follow-up to the second half of last year? Is he more like the quarterback that started the year, or more like the one that finished the second half of the year? And then what is Michael Penix year 2, but his first full season as starting quarterback? I think those are two very interesting things to look into this season. I just think it's the Buccaneers division to lose. I think it's they're the obvious favorite for me. But this has traditionally been a division that's changed hands a lot. After the Saints' domination has withered away. So I think for me, Buccaneers win the division, but the storyline for me is the quarterbacks in Carolina and Atlanta. I want to see what they do this next upcoming season.
Yeah, that has to be it, right? I think that kind of has to be it. The quarterbacks for those two teams. I think the Saints, it's expected by everyone, including their own fan base, this is going to be a tough year for the Saints. I still think that the Dome is going to be a hard place to play. Like, I think as much as that team is going to be struggling this season, those fans bring it every Sunday. So that's still going to be a tough place to play. But yeah, man, for me, it has to be the quarterback situation for those two teams. Now they're kind of at, well, not kind of, they are at completely different points. Like Bryce Young, this feels like this is the season. We have to see it like this season.
For sure.
Where with Penix, I feel like there's still a little bit more after this. He can fall flat on his face, and I feel like he'll still now we'll talk about it, but like, Kirk Cousins is still there, right? I think like he's still the backup
for now.
So what does that do? Like, is that a problem or does that help? That'll be something interesting. We'll talk about that when we talk about the Falcons. To me, if I'm not going to go that road, since you just went down that road, if I'm going to choose something else, sticking with the quarterbacks, I just always want to see Baker kill it, man. I just root for that guy so hard, and I want to continue watching him succeed. And we'll see what happens. Godwin's out for a little bit, but he'll be back. I'm just curious to see how that goes for Baker. He just keeps going up and up, man, and I'm really happy for him, how he's resurrected his career. Cleveland is a place where quarterbacks go to die, and he has completely resurrected himself since then. And I'm really happy to see that. So with that, let's move on. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right. Should have been prepared, but I wasn't. That's okay. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 10-7 last year, 9.5 wins is their total for this year. Super Bowl winning 30-1 are the odds for them going into this season. Just touched on them a little bit, but Joe, what are you looking at for Tampa Bay? I'm curious. I feel like when you and I talk, you are much more knowledgeable on both sides of the football than I am. What I do know is that oh man, my brain just escaped me. Oh, linebacker.
I can help you.
Linebacker for the Bucks.
Did he used to play for your team?
35-year-old. Pardon me?
Did he used to play for your team?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. Then it's not.
I think it's a linebacker. I'm falling flat on my face here. Where are we? Let me look this real quick.
Yeah.
This is going to be embarrassing for me, but that's okay. I'm used to it. No big deal. Oh yeah, you're talking about Reddick. We'll see how that goes because he basically didn't play last year. I like him as a player a lot. To me, is Levante David, man. Like this guy is, to me, it's like him and then like I don't really know. Like Reddick, really good player, basically took a year off last year. What does that mean? I have no idea. I don't think it's good. And so yeah, that concerns me on the defensive side. But anyway, I fumbled this enough. Joe, take it away. What do you see? 2025 bucks.
Well, for me, I want to see how they do without Carlton Davis. I think Carlton Davis was a decent piece at the corner position. I'm going to see what Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean do as the starting corners. I know they drafted Parrish. He's probably going to play the nickel from Kansas State. But they still have some stalwarts. You mentioned one of them in Levante David. Vita Vea is still there, which means their run defense should be still pretty stout. Uh, Hassan Reddick on a prove it deal. I want to see how motivated he is. If he wants to get the money that he thought he should have gotten from the Jets, I better see a double-digit sack season. If you want to get that money, prove it. Like essentially, like you said, he had a majority of last season off, and even with how he played when he did finally get on the field, it essentially led to more time off, honestly. So
Yeah.
he should be well rested and he should be well motivated to produce, and he's going to be put in a position to produce. His coach, Todd Bowles, defensive minded coach, he's going to find a way to use him and use him in a way that is going to promote his skill set. So it's going to be very interesting what they do. On offense, a little worried, right? Tristan Wirfs not exactly 100% healthy. Godwin's going to be out for a little bit, so you're going to be putting a lot on Emeka to be a number two for the simple fact that Jalen McMillan is also out now. So it's going to be a lot on a rookie to produce early, but he's won a championship, right? So he knows what winning football is like in terms of being part of a program that's known for winning a lot of games and in terms of Ohio State. So I think for him, putting him with a guy like Baker Mayfield, who understands that culture, who he's just as hype as he was in college. Everything is, he loves football, and I think having a quarterback that loves to get targets to his wideouts, and I think given his career, like you previously referenced, like, the bouncing around, from the Cleveland to to the Panthers, and then the little stint he had with the Rams, in which he kind of like had a little bit of a resurrection, like that
Yeah.
one Thursday night where it was just like, oh, this guy can still play football, and then everything he's done since then at Tampa Bay. I think this is a really good quarterback to have. If you're a Mecca and if you want to produce numbers, so he's going to get a lot of opportunities. If the running game can hold, if Bucky Irvin can hold, produce what he produced last year, to have some balance. 10's not out of the picture. I think you got a lot of question marks in this division. You don't know what Penix is going to be. You don't know who Bryce Young really is yet, and the Saints still don't have a starter named. So you can pretty much tell where that's going to go. So because of that, I think they're in that same boat. Who was it that we talked about in the last division with that same number? The Texans. I think because of the division they're in, 10's not out of the question.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I think on offense, like, I'm fascinated by this man. Like Mike Evans, this guy, like, I don't know. Maybe this is just me and like what I listen to in my like little bubble that I'm in, but I feel like Mike Evans is not, like, everyone hears his name and like, oh yeah, that guy balls. But like, I just feel like he's still somewhat underrated. Like maybe not. Maybe that's just my own like perspective. But like I feel like every year with Mike Evans, it's all another year older. What are we gonna get from Mike? What are we gonna get? We're gonna get 1,000+ yards and 10+ touchdowns. What do you mean? What are we gonna get? Like he's like one of the most reliable like touchdown props every week. Like just bet on Mike Evans every single Sunday, and you will win more than you lose. I promise you. Like you just will. So I think even though exactly what you said about the receiver room, I agree with you. I just also think that having Mike Evans, he's just one of those guys. They could triple team him, and he's gonna get 100+ yards and a touchdown. He just will. And I don't when we talk about like receivers, we're talking about Justin Jefferson, we're talking about Devontae Adams, we're talking about AJ Brown, we're talking about all these guys, and I feel like Mike Evans is always so far down the list. And I just feel like having him there healthy is automatically, it's just huge. I can't I can't overstate that. That all that being said, Tristan Wirfs, what you said, that's huge. Like what that situation, I think that injury could be the difference between the over and the under here. And I don't think that's overstated. Like I legitimately think that. Whatever questions you have on defense or whatever, Wirfs' health and that situation, like again, as the host, I should probably know this, but do we have any kind of idea of what a timeline looks like or what that situation is?
Likely not until October per Shefty. He's gonna be part of the 53 so that he can practice with the team, but he likely doesn't play until October. So at least the first 4 games.
Okay. So that is something, because you're playing the Falcons, Texans, and we'll just segue here. You're playing the Falcons, the Texans, and the Eagles in the first 4 weeks. Week 3 is the Jets, where I know that the Jets are the Jets. However, you have a quarterback who should be utilizing his legs here. I really want to see that from Justin Fields. And you have 2 very good running backs. And you have weapons like that whole Jets offense has talent. So that might not be a walk in the park. So
not just that, they have pass rushers. Will McDonald's a pretty decent pass rusher. And so that's going to be an issue with Tristan, with Tristan not being out.
100%. So in the first 4 weeks, you are in Atlanta, in Houston, and then home to the Jets and Philly. Now, for whatever reason, the Bucs have the Eagles number at home, or not at home. Sorry, during the regular season. This year it happens to be at home. So, I mean, it wouldn't. Yeah, I'm a Birds fan, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Bucs won that game. Like that, it just seems to happen. They play the Eagles in the first 4 weeks of the season, and they win. And then that just kind of seems to be the script. But Falcons, Texans, Jets, Eagles to start the season. Week 5 in Seattle. Week 6 home against the Niners. Week 7 at Detroit. Week 8 is against the Saints in New Orleans. And then you have the bye week. So the first 8 games, I can see a slower start to the season. But I think 4-4 feels realistic here. I think in Detroit, that's going to be tough. Home against the Niners, Eagles, Jets, Falcons. Yeah, like to me, the first half of the season does seem a little tricky with not having Godwin till at least October and not
Yeah.
having Wirfs until October as well. That feels like you're getting out of there 4-4. And then yeah, so sorry, your thoughts first on that. Would
No,
you
I'm right there with you, 4-4. That's what I'm thinking. And then you also have to think about like when those guys first get back, like okay, not worse because worse they're keeping him on the roster so he can practice because if they would have put him on the unable to perform and he'd have been out the 4 weeks, they would have to wait until that time to open up the practice window and then get him in there. So the fact that they're keeping him on the roster means he's probably going to be healthier than say like McMillan or like other people that are going to need a ramp up. So now I think those guys like McMillan who's going to need a ramp up, Godwin who needs a ramp up, I think they may be a little bit rusty when they first get out where Wirfs is going to practice here and there leading up to it.
right?
So he's going to be kind of ready to go when that happens. Whereas those two wideouts, they can be a work in progress. Like they may not start out of the gate like gangbusters.
I'll just quickly, sorry, Joe, just really quickly, Brady. Good seeing you, man. Thank you for joining us on Mondays. You were also hanging out for the hockey show on Friday. Really good seeing you around, man. And I know that I bug you and I bust your balls, but always love having you a part of the show. And oh yeah, he is a viewer of this show because of your show with Gabe and with Jordan. That's where this whole bromance started. So
Yeah.
that just dawned on me now. It's all full circle. So have a good one, Brady. It's good to see you. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, like I was saying, I think the health of those guys are going to really determine how those first 8 weeks shake out, especially when they when Wirfs and Godwin and McMillan wherever they come in those second set of 4 games is going to be really important. But I agree with the 4-4. I think that's where I would have them heading into the second half of the season.
100%. Now, that being said, I do think that the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games of the season are extremely gettable. Could be anywhere from 3-2 to 5-0. But after the bye, you have the Patriots week 10 at home. That should be a winnable game. So based on the context of 4-4, you should be able to beat the Patriots at home. That's 5-4. Then you're on the road against the Bills and the Rams, back-to-back weeks, home against the Cardinals, week 13. That 3-game stretch, it just feels like in the first 10 weeks, and of course with the bye in there, you gotta finish above 500. Even if it is 5-4, you gotta finish above 500 because that stretch of Bills, Rams, Cardinals could like be tricky, and that could be a 1-2 spot, right? And then you finish it off against the Saints, Falcons, both games at home. Then you're in Carolina. You're on the road against the Dolphins. By then, the Dolphins won't matter. I'm not worried about that game. And then you finish the season at home against the Panthers. So it feels like a very pivotal the first 2/3 of the season. And then it kind of, if you put yourself in a position to win the division, the last 5 weeks, it should be there for you. But you're going to have to really be intentional about winning the games that you should win.
1000%.
Yeah, so that's why I am taking the over, is because I do think those last 5 games, if you're above 500 going into those last 6-7 games, then you should be able to clear that 10 or that 9.5. Not easily, but you should be able to clear it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. Very curious. Is this the year that Kyle Pitts dominates fantasy? That's what everybody wants to know. 8-9 last season, 7.5 wins is the over this season. 60-1 to win the Super Bowl. Joe, what do you got? Atlanta Falcons 2025.
Well, I mean, it's funny you should mention Kyle Pitts, because he kind of has like the same kind of like track, in the sense that he had that really, really boss first season, and then every season since then has been kind of like paled in comparison. So
Right.
and even even that boss first season didn't really help fantasy people, because he only scored 1 touchdown in that season. So like even with the 1,000-yard season, he scored 1 touchdown. So it's just like, oh, did it really help us? Yeah, contract year for him. So obviously he's going to have to show up if he wants to get paid, in the upper echelons of the tight end. Now, we'll say what didn't work in his favor, even though he did have that amazing first season, is that he's kind of had a revolving door of quarterbacks, right? So at that point, there's not been a really consistent signal caller, with Desmond Ridder and Cousins, and then parlaying into Penix now. For all intents and purposes, this is going to be the guy. So if you intend on being here, if you think that you can be a focal point of this team, let's lock this in now. Let's have one of those 70 for 1,000-yard seasons, double-digit touchdowns. Let's leave no room for error. The thing with the Falcons is it's always been the defense. The defense has been off and on, like either middle of the pack to the end. I will say they definitely got better on defense with having Jesse Bates.
Yep.
I could tell you a team that misses Jesse Bates a lot, which is the Bengals. They have not been the same team in the secondary since Jesse Bates left. He covers up a lot of mistakes from your corners and being a ball hawking safety. They've paid AJ Terrell a lot of money. They've paid him number 1 corner money. I'm going to need to see it on the field. Leonard Floyd is basically their de facto pass rusher here. Veteran, a guy who's gotten high number of sacks before. They got James Pierce from the draft. We'll see how he factors in. This defense is going to need to be stout. And that's always been the trouble with them. So we'll see what happens. Michael Penix, year 1 to year 2. Year 1, he played like 3 or 4 games, right? So we don't really know what he is as a quarterback yet, right?
Yeah.
We know he's the future. We know he's good enough that they decided to hand the reins before Cousins' season was even over. So, and they were still fighting for a playoff spot, mind you, when they made the switch. So I think let's see what he does with the full command of the offense. Let's see what he does being the leader in the huddle. Let's see how he calling the plays, all the simple stuff that all the quarterbacks in the league do. Let's see how he does with all of the responsibility in the meeting rooms and the leadership role. Let's see what he does with that in his first full season as the starter. That's going to really ultimately determine how this team moves. Because if the offense can keep the defense off the field, then they won't get exposed.
Yeah, and I mean, like the offense to me, and again, like the quarterback question, like you said, Penix, we don't know what he is. What we do know is the guy's gonna throw deep. Like the guy can throw.
For sure.
I'm curious to see. So, like to me, like Drake London is like due for an incredible season, in my opinion. I think Darnell Mooney, same thing. Kyle Pitts, like you said, man, this is like the kind of make it break it year for him. I really like the receiver potential if Penix can be accurate, make good decisions.
Yeah.
The running back room, I mean, listen, man, Bijan Robinson, we know the guy's a beast. I like the rest of that room. Like Tyler Algier is not a nobody. Like he's a good back. So offensively, and I know this is a very obvious thing to say about the quarterback, but if the quarterback can dial it in, this is a good offense. Like this offense has talent. So I'm curious to see how that goes. Now, if this was basketball, the drama surrounding Kirk Cousins would be like front and center, right? Like having a guy like that in like, do you foresee this being an issue? Like, because like to me,
No.
yeah, like that's how I'm kind of thinking. Like to me, Kirk Cousins seems like a guy who will take that mentorship role, and in like he's coming off a bad injury at an old age when it comes to sports, right? And to me, I still think he has, not that he's the be all end all. I think going to your future is the right decision. I'm not saying they should start Kirk Cousins. I just still think the guy has something. I think last year he was like recovering still. Having him back there as a safety net just in case they need it, and two, as just a really solid, by all accounts, he's a good guy. By all accounts, his teammates love him. Just a really good, solid mentor. And also, like, if you want to pay me, $45 million or whatever they're paying him to sit on the bench, like I'll do that. Yeah, I would love to do that. So
honestly, just lock me in. I'll hold the clipboard. No problem.
Yeah, bro, I'll do whatever you want. Brother. We won't get carried away with that, but I'll do whatever, man. 45 million. So, but I think this offense is very talented, and it all kind of relies on Penix Jr. And what you said about the defense, I agree wholeheartedly.
To your point, though, the reason why I don't think it's a problem is because the minute someone suffers an injury, that's the first phone call they're making is to Atlanta. The minute a QB1 goes down and they're not entirely sure about their QB2, their first call is going to be to Atlanta. So I think his mindset is that he's going in prepared to, be that mentor, be that guy. But in the back of his mind, he knows he's one injury away from being QB1 again. Like say the Jets. Say the Jets lose Fields and they feel like they got something cooking.
Yeah.
He's on a 2-year deal. Right? So like they're not exactly committed to forever and ever with Fields. And if they feel like they have a team that can do something, they might call, or any other team that feels like they have a team that can go and they're just one quarterback away because theirs got hurt. He'll be fine. I think he'll be an adult in the room and wouldn't cause any waves because I think he knows he's just one play away from being a QB1 elsewhere.
Yeah, and something to bring up completely off topic and not relevant to this conversation at all is Ben Rice is on my fantasy baseball team, and this guy, awful average and hits home runs, and he's every time he hits home run, he's on my bench, and it just drives me insane, dude. Like I get the Twitter notification that Ben Rice hit another home run, and I'm like, dude, like. Anytime he's on my bench, he hits bombs. And whenever I start him, he's 0 for 4. Like, just awful. Yeah. And I'm only bringing that up because you're a Yankees fan. Like, the guy.
Yeah,
so
but honestly, they were playing the Nationals, so that's actually on you for not starting. Right there.
The problem is my catcher room is actually pretty balling. Like, I got Kirk, I got Rice, I have Perez, and I have the dude from Oakland, who I always mispronounce his name, Shea,
Oh wait,
like Langiers or whatever. I can't.
Yeah,
I
I think I know
always
who you're talking
butcher his
about.
name.
Yeah.
But I got like 4 awesome catchers, so someone's got to sit, man. That just is what it is. All right. Moving on to the schedule for the Atlanta Falcons, we have a ton of people watching live, and you have been for an hour and 45 minutes. So no one needs to hear about my fantasy baseball life. So thank you all for watching. I forgot to do it as we switch from the AFC to the NFC. But as a reminder, this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off any sports card in the entire First Round Collectibles store, including sales items. They have frequent sales up to 50% off, and with our promo code sports10 you get 10% off of regular priced and sales priced items. And half of our viewers are from Total Apex Sports Twitter account. Go to totalapexsports.com. Check out everything. Get you ready for baseball season, as we mentioned. Get you ready for football, not baseball season, baseball playoffs. Get you ready for football season, basketball, hockey, all of it. They got you covered. They have multiple websites. They have a health site. They have a bet site. They have website talking about TV shows and different things in the pop culture world. So go to totalapexsports.com. Shout out to them for having us on board. We appreciate it. All right. Moving on to the Falcons schedule. Right off the bat, they have the Lions at home. Oh no, that's preseason. All right, here we go. The Bucks at home. We're going to talk about the Vikings next week to wrap up this series. The Vikings are a very curious team to me. I'll just quickly throw this out there. This team they are so talented on offense specifically, and we always treat them like they're frauds. Yet every year they seem to do just enough to win games. And so I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the Vikings this time around. But they have the Bucks week 1 in Minnesota, in Carolina, and then home to the Commanders with a week 5 bye. Right off the bat, that feels like a doable 2-2. The Commanders, it's been a few weeks since we talked about them. They're just a team that I have no idea, man. They're loaded with talent up front, but this is one of those things. It's hard to really know. I think 2-2 for this Falcons team is crucial because they have the Bills at home in week 6, in San Fran week 7, 2 potentially difficult games. Week 8, Dolphins. Week 9, Patriots. Week 10, Colts in Indianapolis. So those first 9 games, I see a world where this team can hit 4-5. I think 5-4 might be a bit of a stretch. But if you can get out of those first 4 games 2-2, let's say you lose to the Bills and the Niners, go 2-4, you can beat the Dolphins and the Pats and the Colts and kind of get out of there 5-4 to wrap up the first half of the season.
Possible. I would need to see it from their defense for me.
Yeah.
Also, this is Penix's first go around being in charge from day one.
That's fair. Yep.
So you're gonna run into some teams that are gonna take advantage of that. Robert Saleh over with the Niners DC, Dan Quinn with the Commanders, defensive coach, Todd Bowles week 1, even Vrabel with the Patriots. He comes from the Belichick tree, okay, and Belichick made it a point to make a rookie quarterback's day miserable. So those are games that I can just easily identify where a rookie quarterback, and granted he's played 3 games, not technically a rookie, but also this is his first full year in charge, so he's still a rookie to me. So those are games I would earmark as maybe not gimmies, to where I would fall on the below 500 in that stretch.
Yeah, I can. That's a very fair point. I can get on board with that for sure. Heading into the back half of the season, Panthers at home, week 11, in New Orleans. Which, as much as I've been goofing on the Saints, that's a divisional game on the road. In a very difficult place to play. So I don't think that's chalked up to be, guaranteed win night by any means. I know it's a divisional game. I know it's a fun rivalry. For that to be 4:30 on a Sunday afternoon, though, is ridiculous. Like, can we not have the Saints on at 4:30? But that's another conversation. The Jets on the road, week 13. Seahawks, week 14. Bucks at home, or no, on the road. Bucks and Cardinals both on the road. Rams and Saints at home to wrap it up. What was this number again? 7.5. Again, a very obvious statement. It's all about the quarterback. I do see a path where that over 7.5 is doable. I might be an 8-9 season. I think if they are competing for the division, if the Bucks have any competition for the division, it's probably the Falcons. I can see a world where this goes over, man. Like you said, we don't really know what we're getting from Penix. That's just an obvious statement, but and from the defense for that matter, like you've said. So to me, I can see a world where this goes over, man. I don't know.
If they could manage to get to the Colts at 4-5, I could see a world where that could take place. The real key stretch for me would be from the Seahawks to the Rams, because the Seahawks are a very plucky team.
Yeah.
And I think with Sammy D over there running quarterback, they could be making the NFC West interesting. Cardinals defense, pretty stout, and then you're going to be going up against a rookie quarterback, pretty much essentially. That Seahawks to Buccaneers though, 4 days. That's a 4-day turnaround. So I think that stretch from the Seahawks to the Rams will determine whether they hit that number, because I don't think the Saints are going to be playing for anything in that last game. Yeah, I could see a world where that happens. I'd lean toward not. I'd lean towards 7 myself. Just because I think that stretch between the Seahawks and the Rams is going to be really tough for them.
All right, absolutely. So let's move on. 2 teams left in this preview. Again, thank you to everybody for hanging out for these 2 hours. Could not tell you enough how much we appreciate it. It's awesome, man. Like, talking for 2 hours and looking down and seeing that most of the viewers have been here the whole time. 2 hours is a long time, man. Don't worry. After next week's North previews, these shows will not be 2 hours for the majority of the season. But I say that, yet most of this is just me saying the same thing over and over again. So maybe it will be. Who knows? All right, moving on to the Carolina Panthers. Last season, 5-12, which is better than I remembered. If I'm being honest, I look at that, I was like, oh, 5-12. Okay, not as bad as I thought.
They were really frisky. They were really frisky.
Yeah, man. Especially down the stretch. 6.5 wins. And listen, man. Again, this is just my degenerate brain talking. The Colts, 101 to win the Super Bowl. The Panthers, 101 to win the Super Bowl. I gotta say, the Panthers 101 to the Super Bowl, to me, that's respect. I don't know. That's how I quantify respect. But yeah, 5-12 last year, 6.5 is the total this year, 100-1 to win the Super Bowl. Of course, as everybody knows, the conversation here Bryce Young to take this next step. I don't love the weapons he has around him. I think Adam Thielen is still doing it. Of course, he's not the guy that we knew from Minnesota, but he's still productive. I think Chuba Hubbard's a really good young back from Canada, which nobody cares about except for Canadians, but that's cool. And Leggett, I think the defense is pretty solid, not incredible, but not like walkovers either. This is the whole conversation, man, is, Bryce Young. So what do you got for the Panthers 2025?
Yeah, I think they got younger on defense. I'll say they've kind of jettisoned a lot of the stalwarts that were there. The Brian Burns trade to the Giants. Just again accumulating draft picks, getting younger on that side of the ball. Health of J.C. Horn is going to be important at right corner. I think getting Derek Brown back is going to be important. A double-digit sack guy potential. Probably one of the older guys on the team. To be honest, even at 27, he's still one of the older guys on that defense that I think. So for me, let's see what Bryce Young does as a kind of like a encore to what he did the second half of the season. And I said, going into the explaining these divisions, what were the stories going in? I was particularly interested to see what Bryce Young does, to see if he shows that he's more like the quarterback of the second half of last season or the first half. Because quite frankly, the first half could not have been worse. It could not have been worse. The fact that you had to go to Andy Dalton just to get you a fresh pair of eyes to get you away from being on the field says a lot to how he was playing early. But he showed a lot late for me. Don't love the receiver room. I don't love the receiver room. I think Ted McMillan is going to be a decent guy. I don't think he's a burner guy. I don't think he's going to stretch the field type of guy, but I think he's a good route runner. But he's already questionable heading into the season, so let's hope that's not a thing moving forward. Leggett, up and down first season. We don't really know what he's going to end up being, but I think he's also kind of like a possession guy as well. Thielen, I don't even know if Thielen's going to be on the team, to be honest. He is getting phone calls primarily from his old team in Minnesota, to where they might pick him up because of the injuries they've suffered in their wide receiver room. So he may or may not be on the team. I think they want to keep him because he's an adult in the room of kids, if you will. Leggett's the second-year guy. McMillan's a rookie. So I think they'd like to keep him because he's still actually really productive, but also just to have an adult in the room. Low-key signing, we'll see what he has in the tank, because I never understood why he wasn't on the football field with anyone, but Hunter Renfrow is on this team apparently.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was a really good slot guy for the Raiders, and all of a sudden he fell off the face of the planet. I don't know what happened, but I remember him being a really decent slot guy, and I thought that he was, he could create a niche there for himself. So we'll see what he has left, but it's all going to come down to the quarterback. Can the quarterback make plays? Can the quarterback be consistent? Can the quarterback not turn the ball over? Can Bryce Young be the guy that they drafted him to be? And that's also going to determine whether they hit this number or not.
Yeah, dude, that's a really good point by you. Hunter Renfrow is a very sneaky pickup here. Very, very under the radar. Like, ooh, I'm right there with you. I like what you said about Adam Thielen. If he does stay on this roster, as you alluded to, if he stays with the team, him and Andy Dalton, and again, this just might be me putting my own narrative onto things, but him and Dalton, I really like those two guys being there. Because like you said, this is a very young team. Andy Dalton, he's been this backup fringe starter for the last while now, but he was a real player. He was a real starting quarterback in this league with Cincinnati for a while. It was Cincinnati, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
for
Cincinnati.
like he wasn't a nobody. Like Andy Dalton had his moment in the sun in this league. So to me, having him there, and having Thielen there on the offense, I just think, like you said, adult in the room. I don't know, that it just makes me feel good having those two guys there. I just think it's a really good thing for this team, and we'll see what they do with it. Now, I don't feel like it's fair putting Bryce Young and Penix in the same conversation, mainly because Penix has played 4 games in this league.
Agreed.
But I do feel like the dysfunction in Carolina during Bryce Young's time, it's not all Bryce Young's fault, but he does, like, I just don't feel like he's been put in a position to succeed for the first couple years. And so we'll see what happens this time around. All right, moving on to the schedule real quick. We will tap into it. Okay, starting with week 1 in Jacksonville, week 2 in Arizona, week 3 home to the Falcons, week 4 in New England. I really don't like that. 3 road games out of the first 4 right off the bat. However, I think these are all gettable games, maybe minus the Cardinals spot. I think they're all gettable games. I very optimistically could say 3-1, but I think 2-2 is a possible outcome here. Week 5, home to Miami. Week 6, home to the Cowboys. That Cowboys game to me is all about the Panthers defense, because as much as we hate on the Cowboys, their wide receiver room is stacked. And so to me, that's a real question on the defense, but it is at home in Carolina. Week 7 in New York to take on the Jets. Week 8, Bills. Week 9, Packers. Week 10, Saints. So to me, I mean, they're home to the Saints. You can get a win there. I think you can beat the Dolphins at home. It's hard with Bryce Young. Playing 3 of your first 4 games on the road looks tough. But I think, I don't know, man. And Packers, like, we're going to talk about the Packers next week. I think, I don't know. They've kind of lost their shine to me. I don't know. I could see 3 wins here, maybe 4. I just, again, similar to the Falcons conversation, it's just hard to know what we're going to see from Bryce Young. But that's how I see the first half of that season.
Yeah, I think for me, 4-6 is a solid number for me. 4-6, I think, would be. And again, that Packers game, like you said, could be tricky. We'll see if Love has limited his turnovers, because he's liable to give you a couple. He's been liable to give you a couple. He's very, very, very Brett Favre-ish in that he's gonna throw it when he wants to throw it. So sometimes it goes to the other team. So I mean, he's liable to give you a couple. But if he stems that down, if he kind of like turns the corner, like I would say, like a guy like Josh Allen has, to where, you know, he's not putting the ball at so much risk, then, you know, maybe not as gettable a game. But that's a game where he might get got. He might get got. 4-6 sounds solid to me, though.
Yeah, so if they're going into the back half 4-6, they need 7 to clear the over. After week 10 against the Saints, week 11 in Atlanta, 12 in San Fran, and then they're home to the Rams. That's a really tough 3-game stretch. Those 2 road games against good teams, and then week 13 against the Rams. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, 0-3 in that stretch. So you have 4 wins to start the season, 0-3 in that stretch before the bye week. After the bye week, you are in New Orleans to take on the Saints. As we said, it's division rival in New Orleans. That's always a tough place. You're home to the Bucs, home to the Seahawks, and then on the road against the Bucs to wrap up the season. This is where I fall off here. I don't see a world where we get over that 6.5. And I think that's okay. Like, if you get a productive season from Bryce Young, I think it's a success. I don't think Panthers fans are clamoring for the playoffs here. You're just looking at, is this the guy? Listen, the Seahawks, they have aspirations. So do Tampa Bay, the Rams, the Niners, the Falcons, like the Packers, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. Like, you're facing teams that all have high hopes. So that back half of the season, I have a hard time seeing 3 wins there. But I can see just going under the number, like 6 wins. But if Bryce Young has a good season, minus the wins, I think that's okay.
Yeah, if you're 6 and excuse me, if you're 6-11 and he's got like 4,000 yards, around 20 something touchdowns and single digit picks, I think you're okay with that. I think you live with that.
Yeah.
I see 2-2 on the back end at best, which will put them at 6-11. I just think they're gonna have 2 weeks to prepare for the Saints. They probably only need 1, but they're gonna get 2. So I think that's 1 win there. I think that'll put them at 5-9, and I think they can split the Buccaneer games. I think that last game may not be important to the Bucs. As far as seeding, I think they may have the 4th seed already locked up there. So they may not play anyone in that game, in which case they may get to 6 by virtue of that. But that's what I see.
All right, so moving on, talking about the Saints, moving on to the New Orleans Saints, we're going to wrap up this show. Once again, to everybody, thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us for so long. This has been phenomenal. Really appreciate all you guys watching this show. Really, really do appreciate it. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints, 5-12 last season. Their total is 5.5 wins. Super Bowl is 101. Same as the Colts. Same as the Panthers. I got to ask you, man, right off the hop, and we're at the end of the show. I don't want to give disrespect to New Orleans. I don't know how much there really is to break down here. I really want to ask you, how is this, like, I typically don't like hammering low totals because you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But under 5.5, how is under 5.5 wins for the Saints not the lock of the season? Like, I just don't understand what I'm looking at with this team. I don't understand. Talk to me here.
Yeah, I don't know. To be completely honest with you, I don't know how much faith we're having in Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shook, to be honest with you.
And like, they have talent. Like, Chris Olave, good. Brandon Cooks at the end, he's fine. Shaheed, good. Kamara, good. I think still.
Yeah, he's
like,
still good. He's not peak, but he's still good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. There's some veteran talent. There's some veteran talent on that defense still. Cameron Jordan's still there.
Yeah.
Chase Young, Chase Young, Commanders Chase Young, he had some seasons there. You wonder if he's healthy. If he's healthy, he's a double-digit sack threat. I like Justin Reed from the Chiefs on the back end. Julian Blackman can be up and down, but serviceable. If that offense can just hold on to the football and try to win games 13-10, 20-17 in the most boringest way possible. And maybe you got a shot at the number, but realistically speaking, because of the talent at the quarterback position, it's a lock for me on the under. I just don't. Neither one of those three quarterbacks in this division that typically has a revolving door, but has been pretty much the Buccaneers or bust since Brady. Yeah, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I think Kelvin Banks will be the tackle of the future. He will be protecting the blind side of the future for this team. But the quarterback of the future, I'm not sure is on this roster right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and I think I struggle with this, man, because like the coaching staff, having Kellen Moore there now as the head coach and having Brandon Staley as your DC, everybody has a bad taste about Brandon Staley because of what we saw with the Chargers, right? And rightfully so. But he's a DC. Like, this is what he is. This is back in his safe space, if you will, right? 2025. We all want our safe space. This is what his safe space is, right? And Kellen Moore as a head coach, I don't know. I think as an OC, like, he was fine. I think that the Eagles won in spite of him sometimes.
So you didn't love him last year?
Dude, and like, there was a point in the season where Jalen Hurts literally said, I'm just going to do whatever I want and we'll see what happens. Like, that's basically what happened towards the end. Or we're just going to give the ball to Saquon and we'll just see what happens. And it with the Cowboys, enough said. So to me, I don't know, man. I struggle with a young roster of roster that's been keeping guys from the glory days, trying to hang on, but they're also clearly rebuilding.
Yeah.
The coaching staff, is this the right coaching staff for this team right now? Like, how long in the 2025 sports world, how long do these guys last with this roster? Like, I just don't know what they're aiming at. You know what I mean?
They're still recovering some cap situations. Like they forego a lot of things during the Breeze era that the Bills are coming due on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That Visa bills do eventually, man. So I just have a hard time kind of seeing what we're looking at. But a quick look at the schedule here: Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, Bills. First 4 weeks. That's a tough stretch right off the bat. Now, they got the majority of their wins last year at the beginning of the season. So does that matter this year? I don't know. But Cardinals, Niners, Seahawks, Bills, right off the bat, that's a tough stretch. Giants at home, but I feel like the Giants offensively are in a position, and dude, and the defense, we've talked about this with your guys, like the defense, the front four on that defense against this offense, I just don't see how that works out.
Too. We're putting all of our veterans on that left tackle, and we'll see if he's the guy. We're gonna find out that day if he's the guy.
Quickly. Patriots, we haven't talked about the Bears at all, really, for the first few weeks of this show. They're in Chicago. So Patriots, Bears, Bucks, Rams. That's rounding out your first 9 weeks. That's tough right off the bat. If you get 2 wins in your first 9 weeks, like, that's pretty much all I can see, if that. Like, I would legitimately go 0-9 here. I don't think that's logical or realistic, but you could make a case for 0-9 here. Then you got the Panthers week 10, bye week 11, Falcons, Dolphins, Bucks, Panthers, Jets, Titans, Falcons. They're going to win a couple games here. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just quickly, bear with me here while I quickly look this up. NFL win totals. New Orleans Saints. So under 5.5 is minus 170. So heavy juice to the under there. Under 4.5 wins is plus 105. That
I might be inclined.
Dude, I know it's plus money, but that's really close to even money. Like,
I
the
might
books
be
are kind of
inclined.
telling you, yeah, dude. Now, if you want to get really, like, in the betting world, for under 3.5 wins is only plus 200. Like, you're only doubling your money for under 3.5. Like, you would expect that to be a bit whatever. 3.5, it's a bit disrespectful, but I don't know, man. It's going to be tough getting some wins here on the schedule.
Yeah, I think the second half of the schedule, there's more gettable games. In the sense that there are teams that traditionally either falter at this time of year, or they're traditionally not in any kind of playoff picture at this time of the year. So that's basically that's what I'm defining as gettable games in the second half of the year. There's more of those in the second half than I see in the first half, in my estimation. We know the Dolphins tend to falter late in the year. The Titans are traditionally out of it by this time of the year. They get the Falcons twice, but the first time they have 2 weeks to prepare for it. So it's like the second half of the year is where they're going to have to make it happen. Right. Because that first half is daunting to me. 0-9, you said? I don't think that's disrespectful, honestly. I don't know who you don't have a quarterback to me. I don't think you have a quarterback.
I mean, listen, man, tomorrow, at least in Canada, I'm assuming it's the same down there. I don't know. But for FanDuel, tomorrow is Futures Day, where you can basically create whatever you want for like futures. And last winless team feels. Although, yes, based on the plus 200 for over 3.5 wins, that might be like minus 130. Like, that might not even be. Yeah. You might not even be getting. But anyway, there you go. There you have it. The NFC AFC South next week, Monday night. We will be back. We'll be wrapping up this series, this preview series with the AFC and NFC North. Now I know that we're East guys. Kind of my two, like, if we're talking like the North for both conferences, South, East, West. This is probably my favorite two divisions combined. This is a lot of fun. We'll be talking about. There's some breaking news today with the Bengals. Lots going on. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is always always something to talk about. So yeah, we'll be talking about the AFC NFC North next week. Of course, next Thursday is opening night in the NFL. Still some things to talk through, but might try to do some extra stuff next week for opening week. We'll see what happens. But yeah, everybody, thank you once again. Everybody watching, lots of viewers on Total Apex and on the Solder on Sports Twitter feed. So really appreciate it. Reminder, like, subscribe on YouTube. Even if you don't watch it on YouTube, just click the link in my profile and just like, subscribe, whatever. Just do it. Even if you're not on, it would really mean a lot to me. Also, Spotify, the East preview is up there. The West, I had some issues with it, but it'll be up there by tomorrow, as well as this episode and the hockey show as well. So if hockey is your thing, check that out as well with my guy Jim from Friday. Awesome, man. Joe, as always, thanks for hanging out. Everybody else, have a wonderful, wonderful week. We'll be back next week. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order on sales and regular priced items. TotalApexSports.com gets you ready for all of the upcoming seasons. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.